Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are reading Christianity and the Great Deception. Let's start here in chapter 1. Whoa, what happened here? Okay. Sorry about that, my mouse, for some reason it just skipped a bunch of pages here. Well, we get to chapter 1. I just want to thank Paul Sides for giving me the permission to read this book series to you guys. Probably one of the most important set of books I have ever read in my entire life. And by far, the most important information I've ever heard. Alright, we're just about there. Here we go, chapter 1. From Dagon to the Dragon, the spirit behind Christianity. Notice the picture here, you got Nimrod here, dressed with a fish hat. And then here you got the Pope, and he's wearing a Mitre Hat. Look kind of similar now, don't they? From the Dagon to the Dragon. The word dragon comes from the word Dagon, one of, if not the oldest pagan gods dating back to Nimrod. Dagon evolved over time and cultures into the dragon. Here we got pictures illustrating, over time, Dagon, the fish god, equals Neptune, equals Poseidon, who carries the trident. Then you got Satan, then Leviathan, and then Tanim, and then dragon, and then the seraph. Man creates everything in his own image. Ain't that the truth? Dagon is where the word dragon came from. When a nation conquered another nation, they would take their gods and incorporate them into their belief system. Semiramis, queen of Babylon, became Isis, who became Ishtar, Easter, who became Venus, who became Aphrodite, and finally, who became Mary. In the same way, Nimrod, king of Babylon, became Dagon, became the sea serpent, and then the dragon, and then Neptune, and then Poseidon, and then Zeus, and finally Satan. The reason Neptune carried the trident is the same reason you see Satan with the pitchfork. The trident was the article from the Jewish tabernacle for turning the sacrifice on the grill. The Tanim, the great sea monster in Genesis 1:21, was created on the fifth day when God created the fishes and the birds. The association to the goat is also in Scripture as well as in the satanic worship. The goat fish, Capricorn, was also a direct association to Satan, as well as Hydra, the Septa, the sea monster, and the serpent. As I demonstrated in the second book in this series, Mystery Religion of Babylon, Nimrod was the first false messiah ruling over the first attempt at a world government. Beginning with Nimrod in Babylon, mankind began to worship Leviathan, the sea serpent they called Dagon, later known as the dragon. Job 41:1, Can thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Job 41:5, In that day Yahuwah with his great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon, or Tanim in Hebrew, that is, in the sea. Job 41:7, Can thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? This dragon in the sea, or Dagon, the fish god called Leviathan, in Scripture, was worshipped by those in ancient Babylon, and associated with Nimrod, the first high priest of Dagon. Worship of Dagon was passed down after Yahuwah confused the languages and scattered humanity across the globe. It was this religion It was this religion that was prevalent and continued at the time Rome destroyed Jerusalem. It was this religion of Dagon that permeated the high priestly ranks of paganism and was the foundation of the Christian church, when even today continues to wear the priestly garment of Dagon. The etymology of the name Satan is directly connected to Leviathan. Satan and Leviathan both are derived from the word tanim, sea creature, which is plural. The singular of tanim is tan, Satan, and Leviathan are simply later versions of the Tanim god dragon, later known as the dragon. It is Dagon the dragon, that is the spiritual source behind Christian churches, which are based in Rome. Any Sunday, Christmas, Easter, Trinity, Jesus Church, the Pope, and the priesthood of the Catholic Church is the high priest of Dagon the dragon, in disguise. Not a very disguise, actually. The priests of Dagon, even to this day, wear the fish hat and dictate Christian theology worldwide, including Protestant theology from the city of Rome. Every fundamental doctrine of the Christian church, such as Sunday worship, Christmas, Easter, the Trinity, abolishment of the law or law fulfilled, pagan holidays, etc., were all papal edicts, not found in Scripture, meaning the Pope changed the rules without a prophet or, without Yeshua telling him to. They violate clear, explicit commands in Scripture. Rome is actually called Babylon in the Bible because it embodied the same mystery religion of Babylon. 1 Peter 5, the church, that is Babylon. Speaking of the church in Rome, elected together with you, salute you, and so does Marcus, my son. That is a strange verse. Once we fully understand what Christianity actually is, what it's based on, and where it came from, then we can begin to understand why Christianity abolished the law of Yahuwah, abolished his seventh-day Sabbath, and changed the sacrifice of the Passover lamb to the Easter pig. Every one of the above moves, not commanded by Yahuwah, were made by the Pope of Rome, the high priest of Dagon, the dragon. The Mitre Hat. The priests of Dagon were known by their mitre hat, which resembled an open mouth of a fish, the exact same hat worn even today by the Pope, as well as cardinals and bishops. All priests of Dagon, and the religion that surrounds them, even to this day, is identical to that born in Babylon. As the pagan religion of Babylon was forced upon humanity by the Roman Emperor Constantine, the pagan aspects of worshipping Dagon, the fish god, was toned down as not to offend other religions, as each pagan religion was literally assimilated into the universal church of Rome through the process of synchronism. Synchronism is the blending of pagan religion with the worship of Yahuwah. It is an abomination to Yahuwah. Something very fishy in Western religion. Not only are the ancient priests of Dagon, fish worship, found wearing the mitre hat, but also the Pope and bishops of Rome are frequently found wearing this mitre hat. This clergy system forms a pagan priest class not defined in the word of Yahuwah, but rather clearly defined in ancient Babylon. And it is from this false class of priests we get every doctrine of the Christian church. We see the priest of Dagon on the ancient wall drawing in every culture, even as far back as the Sumerians, when the Pope then served the Nephilim rulers, or the fallen angels. Fish hat, fish tail. Looks like Tiamat. The high priest of the dragon, the Pope of Rome. Dagon or owns He would go back into the sea to spend the night because he was amphibious. He had the head of a man covered by the head of a fish, and had the legs and feet of a man and the torso of a man, but was covered by the scales and tail of a fish. Berosus, from Ancient Fragments, Isaac Preston Corey. Christianity, or shall I say Satan behind it, has done a very masterful job at concealing its true identity. However, that mask is coming off as knowledge increases at exponential rates, mainly due to the internet. We are no longer bound by the mental chains of the Christian church, who has made it a top priority to keep the masses in total ignorance. We can now actually research its origins and test the historical accuracy of its claims. Many, over the centuries, have questioned its rituals and practices simply because they cannot be found in the Bible. But now we can fully unmask this false religion and expose it for what it is: paganism, dating back to Babylon. The great apostate church of the Gospel age, true to its Babylonian origin, has actually adopted this fish god in its ritual, for the Pope, on certain occasions, manifests by his headgear that he is the direct representative of Dagon, as it was an indispensable rule in all adulterous religions that the high priest should wear the insignia of the god that he worshipped. So the sculptures discovered by Layard show that the priests of Dagon were arrayed in clothing resembling fish. This is probably the strange apparel referred to in Zeph 1:8, Zephaniah. Berosus tells us that in the image of Dagon, the head of the man appeared under the head of a fish, while Layward points out that in the case of the priest, the head of the fish formed a mitre hat above that of the man, while its scaly fan-like tail fell as a cloak behind, leaving the human limbs and feet exposed. Babylon and Nineveh, page 343. The Dagon priests in Babylon wore hats represented the open mouth of a fish as if it were placed upon their heads, and the fish's body was seen extending from that head and mouth down the priest's back to form a robe. These exact priestly garments adorn the ranks of the Christian clergy. The two-horned mitre hat, which the Pope wears when he sits on the high altar at Rome and receives the adoration of the cardinals, is the very mitre hat worn by the priest of Dagon, the fish god of the Philistines and Babylonians. The two, Babylon, Alexander, Hyssop, page 215. These are books, historical books, documentation. Not only does the Pope wear his mitre hat, but so do the cardinals on certain occasions when they are dressed in their royal regalia, a far cry from the suffering servant Yahushua the Messiah and what he taught. The priests of Dagon today, known as the Pope, cardinals, and bishops, have elevated their station literally to royalty among men. Yahushua wore a turban. There is nothing in the word of Yahuwah or the historical record indicating that the Messiah Yahushua ever wore such a hat created such a priestly high class of royalty. These are strong evidences that Dagon was Nimrod. All scholars agree that the name and worship of Dagon were imported from Babylonia, the two Babylons. Hyssop, page 215. Sorry about my mouse cursor. In their veneration and worship of Dagon, the high priest of paganism would actually put on a garment that had been created from a huge fish. The head of the fish formed a mitre above the old man, while its scaly fan-like tail fell as a cloak behind, leaving the human limbs and feet exposed. Babylon and Nineveh, Austin Henry Layward, page 343. The most prominent form of worship in Babylon was dedicated to Dagon, later known as ICHTHYS, or the fish. In Chaldean times, the head of the church was the representative of Dagon. He was considered to be infallible and was addressed as Your Holiness. Nations, subdued by Babylon, had to kiss the ring and slipper of the Babylonian god king. The same powers and the same titles are claimed to this day by the Dalai Lama of Buddhism and the Pope. Moreover, the vestments of paganism, the fish, mitre, and robes of the priests of Dagon are worn by the Catholic bishops, cardinals, and popes. The Wine of Babylon, page 9. The ICHTHYS symbol of the fish. Dagon fish worship is the source of the Christian symbol of the fish. Actually, it can be traced back to fish worship of Dagon and the zodiac sign of Pisces. We are told it is because some of the disciples were fishermen, or that Yahusha would make us fishers of men, among other excuses. The truth is, it is nowhere defined in Scripture, but yet the real source of the Christian fish symbol is that of Dagon, fish worship, just like the Mitre Hat. According to Egyptian mythology, when the judges found Osiris, Nimrod, guilty of corrupting the religion of Adam and cut up his body, they threw the parts into the Nile. It was said that a fish ate one of these chunks and became transformed. Later, Isis, Sumerius, was fishing along the riverbank when she fished up a half-man, half-fish. This sea creature was Dagon, the reincarnated Nimrod, and Dagon is the representation of Nimrod of ancient Babylon, resurrecting out of the ocean depths as half-man, half-fish. Smith's Bible Dictionary, Dagon fish worship, from ancient pagan and modern Christian symbolism. Dagon is the diminutive of Dag and signifies fish. The Babylonians believed that a being, part man, part fish, emerged from the Euryanthian Sea and appeared in Babylonia in the early days of its history. Representations of this fish god have been found among the sculptures of Nineveh. The Philistine Dagon was of similar character. Manners and Customs of the Bible by James Friedman. This also explains the symbol for Christianity, the fish, the ICHTHYS, which is Dagon. Definition of the ICHTHYS, of pertaining to or characteristic of fishes. The fish world in all its orders. Oxford English Dictionary, Common Era, or CE. The worship of Dagon also affected people's eating habits. Now, the mystery of why the Catholics abstain from eating fish on all days except Fridays comes into focus. This restriction of eating fish is not found in Scripture. Whether they realize it or not, they are practicing the ancient pagan rite of worshiping Dagon. The Catholic Encyclopedia even admits such abominations of the so-called Church. The Catholic Encyclopedia, 1913. As to the ritual of his worship, we only know from ancient writers that for religious reasons, most of the Syrian peoples abstained from eating fish, a practice that one is naturally inclined to connect with the worship of a fish god. Wow. Remember, in the word of Yahuwah, we are forbidden to have any graven images, including that of a fish or a cross. It is commanded to have no graven images at all of any kind, period. Yahuwah forbids such idols because over time we would eventually forget their true origins and buy into lies that they are somehow symbolic of Yahusha. With that, let us unreveal the mystery that lies behind the false religion today we call Christianity. Who created it? What did they believe? And what is its goal? Wow. Come back for chapter 2, folks. God bless.